You'd think Mabel Tanaka was the heroine of the Hoppers movie, right? Well, actually this girl is a total criminal. She's the character who committed the most crimes in this entire movie. And if you don't believe me, get ready to see all the crimes Mabel committed in Hoppers. In the movie, she was introduced to us at about 6 or 7 years old. And from there, we saw that she would hide in her classroom to later steal the pets that were at the school. And it wasn't just 2 or 3. She filled her whole backpack with animals because she thought she was rescuing them. The problem was that when she was about to leave her school, several of her teachers tried to stop her. And when she tried to escape, she even bit one of them. To make matters worse, they let us know that this wasn't the first time she tried to steal the animals, so you could say she already had some practice. So, since she was 7 years old, Mabel had already committed animal theft, resisting authority and assault. That would add 4 years in prison and a $7,000 fine. But, luckily for Mabel, she was just a minor. So the only thing that happened was that her parents were called and she got a good spanking. After all her mess, she decides to stay and live at her grandmother's house. That way, she can live and enjoy a more natural life. From time to time, she would go protest to the mayor. But luckily, this is considered freedom of speech. The problem came when her grandmother passed away. The mayor wanted to build his road over a natural area, but first, something needs to be clarified. This nature reserve didn't belong to her grandmother or to her. Let's remember that her grandmother found it after walking for quite a while through the forest. So Mabel's house is fine. The problem is that when they're about to destroy the lake to start construction, Mabel jumps over the fence to stop the workers. And then, she stands right in the middle of where they had placed the dynamite to stop them. Dude, this can already be classified as a crime. Because here, Mabel was already 19 years old. Here she committed trespass by jumping over the fence, which would get her 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. She interfered with the construction work. That would get her another 6 months in jail and a $500 fine. Then she acted recklessly by standing around the dynamite. That would get her a year in jail and a $2,000 fine. Luckily, they just called the police to take her away and that's it. With the help of her teacher, she now knows that she needs a beaver to bring more animals to that place. That way, they won't be able to destroy it for construction. But after waiting for a while, she finally sees a beaver pass by. So she starts following it. This is where she arrives at the University of Beaverton, the same university where she studies. The problem is that since it's outside of school hours, she's considered to be trespassing. After that, she continues following the beaver. That way, she enters what appears to be a warehouse. Inside, there are even doors with extra security so that no one can get in. But even so, she forces her way in, and that's it. They arrive at the secret laboratories. Luckily for Mabel, this is the same school she attends, so most likely she won't be charged. Instead, it's more like a warning from the university. 30 hours of community service, and a possible warning that if she does something like this again next semester, she'll be suspended. After learning about the Hopper's plan that her teacher was hiding, she decides to use this technology to take a beaver to the area she wants to save. And that's how she ends up stealing this robot beaver. But of course, before that, she had to cause a whole mess inside her lab. And this counts as theft of university property, unauthorized use of research equipment, interference with scientific research, and evading lab staff. If this had been a private company, it's most likely that Mabel would have had to spend 6 years in prison and pay a fine of $15,000. But since this is about the university, it's most likely that she'll simply be expelled and will never be able to enroll again. After that, she goes to the forest to find a beaver that can help her bring animals back to her reserve. And she realizes that there were devices that only animals could hear, and that's why the animals were no longer in this nature reserve. So Mabel decides to destroy this device so the animals will come back. It could be classified as property damage or vandalism, but since this device was illegal, most likely Mabel will avoid being fined for this. What she can't avoid is the following. The mayor installs more devices so the animals don't come back, and that's how Mabel asks for a meeting with the Animal Council to ask for their help. But this is where things get out of control. The speech that Mabel gives makes the Animal Council conspire with her to assassinate the mayor. Yes, now we're talking about something very serious. The important thing here is that she tried to stop the council from killing him and just scare him instead. So here her fine was reduced a lot. So her crime was only left as conspiracy to intimidate an official, which will give her 1 year in jail and a $1,000 fine. And while the Animal Council was intimidating her so that she would also agree with the mayor's murder, Mabel crushes the butterfly, queen of the insects, and ends up killing her. That would be classified as homicide, and she would get 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. She tries to save the mayor from all the animals that want to get rid of him, so her big plan is to get into his car, then intimidate him and deprive him of his freedom, forcing him to go to a presentation and to cancel the construction. Here they committed unlawful entry into a vehicle, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and coercion. All of this, my friends. He faces a total of 28 years in prison and a $40,000 fine, since we're talking about a public official, not just anyone. And things got worse. As the animals started chasing the mayor's car, Mabel began to get upset. And therefore she was bothering the mayor while he was driving, making him drive much faster, and as a result, he was driving recklessly. Let's just say she was only an accomplice to this reckless driving, so she would only get 6 months in jail and a $500 fine. When the doctor arrives to try to catch Mabel, Mabel steals her device so she can communicate with animals and humans. And because of that theft, we would give her a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. After a big chase, they end up in a major crash, so you could say she put the lives of several individuals at risk. That would get her a 1-year prison sentence and a $3,000 fine, which would include the cost of repairing the damages caused. Finally, since the mayor doesn't want to cooperate, Mabel threatens and intimidates him, yelling at the birds to find him and kill him. This would count as incitement to violence and intimidation, which would add 6 years in prison and a $15,000 fine, unfortunately for her. They are captured by the animals and end up working together as a team in order to get out and have an event that was going to end in tragedy. But when she tries to stop the imposter, she causes a very serious forest fire, which puts the lives of the animals at risk and even the humans. So, for recklessly causing a fire, endangering the population, and environmental damage, Mabel would face a 12-year prison sentence and a $40,000 fine. See? I told you, Mabel committed crimes as if she were the villain of this movie. In total, Mabel's crimes include animal theft, 2 counts of private property theft, resisting authority, assaulting a teacher, and 2 trespassing charges. Interference with construction works, reckless behavior near explosives, breaking into a building, and tampering with access. Unauthorized use of experimental technology, interference with scientific research, and evasion of laboratory staff. Conspiracy to intimidate a public official. Homicide, breaking into a vehicle, kidnapping, illegal deprivation of liberty, coercion of a public official, complicity in reckless driving, endangering the lives of others, incitement to violence, criminal threats, recklessly causing a fire, endangering the population, environmental damage. What would that add up to? 74 years in prison, $134,500 in fines, a warning from their parents, some legendary spankings for misbehaving when he was 7 years old, 30 hours of community service at the university, permanent expulsion from University of Beaverton, a ban on going near science labs, and a very likely restraining order against the mayor. So yeah, next time someone says that Mabel is the heroine of hoppers, remember that this girl should actually be in a maximum security prison. And the craziest part is that we still haven't gotten to the crimes of the villains, like the mayor, Titus, and the Animal Council. So, if you haven't seen this video yet, stay tuned for when we have it ready.